all of Long Island, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Monty and the Pharaoh.
To the Monty and Pharaoh Show.
And you're watching the Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
With Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
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 Monty and Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and Pharaoh.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Not just dreaming it, we're doing it for it. Straight to the top. Working hard every day just to leave out that tower.
Alright, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, only seen here live out of Village Connection Radio, out of Huntington, New York, live from Rockstar Studios, and at the board is the owner of this illustrious station, Mr. Jim Savali. Jim, how are you, pal?
What's up, guys?
And to my right is none other than the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I just got up. What's going on?
Yeah, you've been ghosting me all week.
I'm not ghosting anyone. I'm sleeping in between jobs.
Sleeping.
What?
How many jobs you got?
Oh, I have several jobs, yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, this, that, and the other thing.
Wow.
You never heard of that
Those
before?
3 jobs?
Yeah.
But you get a lot of
And I leave
vacation
Uncle
jobs.
Sam completely out of it because he doesn't like me anyway. What?
No, seriously, dude, you ghosted me.
Yeah, well, I was sleeping before.
I've been calling
I
you
don't
like
get
for a
coffee if I don't answer the phone.
There you go.
This is an outrage. Go on.
Unbelievable.
What do we got, bro?
Savali, how was your week?
Not as exciting as that.
What? Mine's exciting.
I only have.
Didn't realize ghosting could be so.
2 jobs.
You only have 2 jobs?
jobs.
You have. Wait a minute. You have that wonderful, lovely child at home. You've
Ah,
got that's
not
like
a
10
job.
jobs.
That's pure.
That's pure
Oh,
joy.
joy.
It is?
Bliss.
Wow.
Pure joy.
Wow, I missed out.
A
Okay.
lot has happened in wrestling and a lot has happened in
Yeah.
politics. So we'll
Oh,
probably
yeah.
get to both. But
We will?
oh yeah,
Oy.
with our special guest,
Mr.
Mr. Sonny Beach. But before we get to Mr. Sonny Beach, we are going to go.
Can I just ask a question,
Sure,
bro? Because I
sure.
heard some kind of crazy nonsense. I
Uh-oh.
think I'm not
Wait.
really sure.
Oh, boy. Here it comes. What do you
But
I don't know what's coming out of his
I have no idea either, but
Okay.
something's coming. What?
I'll just say who a player is. Dan Romano?
Oh, no.
Yeah, what about
What?
You guys have been in communication?
Who?
Yes.
You guys
How
are,
did
you-
you guys,
how
did you
you
know that
guys
we've
are,
been in
you guys are
communication?
friends again, huh?
What? Wait.
Friends is a
What?
friends is a very.
You guys are
Did
I
I?
don't know.
Wait a minute.
You
Did I
guys
miss
are
something this
buddies.
week? Wow, I should have
All right,
picked up
so
the phone.
You should have.
I should
That's why I
have picked
tried to
up the
call.
That's
phone.
why I
You
tried to
do this
call
on
you,
the
bro.
air? What the? Hey.
Everybody.
Poor Sunny Beach.
Everybody
Hey.
knows that.
We could hit the beach until they
Mr.
explain this.
Romano and Monty DeFaro do not get along
Oh, well,
very well.
you know.
Neither does Mr. Romano and Village Connection
Oh,
Radio.
that, yeah.
But
All right.
this week, Mr. Romano reached out and he apologized.
Get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out.
You would only know if you pick up the phone.
I don't pick up the
It's
phone.
unbelievable, bro. I can't
I'm
even
selling
believe that
booze.
something like that
what do
could
you want
happen.
from me?
Yeah, so he apologized and all's
Well,
well.
no, well, hold on, Grand Poobah.
Yeah.
Grand Poobah, you spoke.
I
The Grand Poobah
made
spoke?
some demands.
Demands. Nice. You're the Grand Poobah. Okay.
I said that if
And it's
you-
all
if it- I said
copacetic,
that
huh?
if they
And
didn't do-
antiseptic.
I
That's
said if
great.
he didn't do what I wanted, that I would send over my heat.
Your heat.
My heat.
The Pharaoh.
The Pharaoh.
Me?
I heard that you used to be a bodyguard.
Just because I worked at a few Grateful Dead concerts
Well,
this summer? What
yeah.
the hell is going on?
So
You
I
tackle
said-
one guy on a bike running across the Cathedral Pines, and now I'm a bodyguard. Ay,
I just go with what I'm told, you know.
ay.
But anyway,
So yeah,
Wow.
we'll cover
so
that.
you guys
We'll
are
cover it
buddies.
another time. All right, hold on.
I thought your
Again,
buddies.
You guys, how many times have you talked
Twice.
in the past week?
Twice.
How many times have you talked to you?
I haven't talked to him in a long time.
All right, so I guess you talked to him more than you
Long
talked to
time.
Dan.
I'm so confused.
My phone rings. I pick it up.
You
He
talked to
called
him?
you?
Yes.
He called you?
You thought I would call him?
I can't see him calling either of you. I don't know what's going on. What's
All right.
going?
Anyway,
I'm so confused.
we got more important things.
Yeah,
to
we
do.
do.
I want to cover some events upcoming
Oh,
in
dear
Monty and the
God.
Pharaoh. Saturday, January 11th, we've got the ECW Hardcore Reunion with Shane Douglas, Just Incredible, and your friend and mine, the Sandman.
Oh man, that's
gonna
gonna
be
be
some fun,
gonna
right?
be fantastic.
And then on March 6th, on a Friday, oh, poor Savali, he's got to be here on a Friday. But it's exciting. We've got WWE Hall of Famer, Jake the Snake Roberts. What's wrong, Joe?
Did I tell you about March 6th?
No, what about it?
It's my
Oh, here we go. Here we go. He's got
it's my anniversary.
There you go.
again.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And then on Saturday, oh, that weekend's blown, pal. We've got one half of former WWE Tag Team Champions and father of The Rock,
Oy.
Rocky Johnson, will be in studio.
Wow.
Oy.
And then on March 7th, that same night, we have the Killer Bees, along with your favorite wrestler, Mr. Greg Gagne.
Don't you start already. I'm not going to show up that day. I know what you're going to do. Stop. We love Greg Gagne.
Again, you
Stop.
can catch Monty the Pharaoh here for live out of Village Connection Radio every Thursday from 8:05 to 9 p.m. But you could also catch us every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9 p.m. on Channel 115. And then, as I told you, by special demand, or I don't know how you say it. Anyway, they've added us to the morning, so the morning time slot from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. on
That's
Saturdays.
that's Saturday
So
mornings.
bypass the cartoons. And,
Wait a second.
watch
Have
Monty the Pharaoh.
we officially become a cartoon since we're on Saturday
I don't know,
mornings?
but we are now on
I
Saturday
mean, a little
mornings.
kid's going to be watching Monty and the Pharaoh eating their cornflakes?
Are you going to watch
I
us?
kind of like that. That's kind of cool. Am I going to watch it? No, I'll probably be asleep.
Well, anyway. So, time to announce our special guest, which many fans have reached out to me in the last couple of weeks saying how excited they were for this show.
Okay.
And we're honored to have none other than wrestling superstar, Mr. Sonny Beach. Sonny, thank you for joining us. Thanks for hanging in there, man.
Yeah, please.
So, like we usually start, Sonny, we hand you over to the Pharaoh. He'll give you a little loving, and we're going to have at it. And let's have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it's anticlimactic, though. They already know who he is. This is Sonny Beach. Win. Now I get to read the resume. Nice order. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this fellow to my left, not this fellow, that fella, born Richard Allen on 9/24/63 in Jacksonville, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Current residence, our own beloved Northport.
We were just talking about, like, why would he move back from Florida to come to wonderful Long Island?
A nice Italian girl, and I married her back in '89.
Oh, that'll do it.
But wait a minute, how do you meet your wife? How does that happen? Were you wrestling at the time? Yeah, I want to hear it.
WWF. I was at Wagner College in Staten Island. Me and Greg Valentine were riding together, and I think I was wrestling 90 Poffo that night. And went out to dinner with her and a bunch of people from the athletic commission. And next week I was wrestling at Madison Square Garden, Cowboy Scott Casey, and I got to hang out with her at dinner. And then I gave her my number and told her I was going to be back in town the next week. And I was single. I wasn't dating anybody. And
Now, she worked for the Sports Commission?
her aunt was a judge with the New York State Athletic Commission.
Okay.
And she was there with her aunt at the show that night. And as fate had it, you know.
Now, did she like wrestling? Was she into it, or was she like,
wasn't
eh?
really into it? She, she just went, a night out with, her aunt and stuff, and then we went out to dinner afterwards, and then she started to like it. So I guess,
And you're like, honey, once we really, get married, we're gonna move back. We're gonna move to Florida, and she's like,
I'd love to move back to Florida, but it didn't work out that way. She had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and it was my first marriage, and we had to stay up here with the kids, and then we had one of our own, my son Austin, and the rest is history. We've been married 31 years now.
And Northport is pretty damn nice.
Northport is
Not
very
beautiful.
Not for
It's a
nothing.
beautiful town.
If you're actually
Delvino
living in Northport, it's
Winery,
pretty
I mean,
damn
we got
nice.
a lot of good stuff over there. Gold's Gym, Delvino, Robke's. I mean, what more
Right.
do you need over there?
You got a lot of stuff. And fishing.
Oh, great fishing
Do,
over
do
there.
you have a
striped
boat
bass.
in the? Do you have a boat?
I
in the
do
harbor?
not have a boat. I was looking into one, but I haven't bought one yet. But all my friends have boats, so I go fishing with them.
That's
so
that's the
that's
best way to
easier.
go.
I just put some gas in their boats for them, or bring the beer, and we're off.
And you don't have to clean it.
I help them clean it once in a while. I'll hose it down. I'll have the hose. And then, but it's great living here in Long Island, and I go back and forth to Florida. I have a condo down in Boca, and I go back and forth, and still got family in Jacksonville. We just got back this Monday. We just got back, so we were down there a week, and it's a great time to go visit and come back. And now this weather, it's freezing up here, so it's not really beach weather.
No, that's for sure.
No. If I can finish off your resume, of course, former UWF TV champion for you folks listening at home. Obviously, a WWF alumni, appeared in the movie No Holds Barred.
A great movie, by the way. One of my
Thank
favorite
you,
movies
thank
of
you.
all time.
Yeah, we know how much you love that movie.
I do love that movie.
You know, I want to ask you, since you have all of this, Tukey, there it is. Since you have this obviously awesome background, were you a fan of wrestling as a kid growing up?
I actually was. I grew up Jacksonville, Florida.
The land of Gordon Soley?
The land of Gordon Soley. That was my first territory in 1985. I broke in down championship wrestling from Florida, and started out there. I was a huge Dusty Rhodes, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, Mike Graham, Steve Kern, all those guys down in Florida.
You like
Know them
face
all.
guys back in the
I was a face guy, but then I liked the Spoiler. I liked the Assassin. You know, Kevin Sullivan, Bob Roop, Purple Haze.
Spoiler.
You know, there were so many different guys down there, and it was like, you know, it was a hotbed of professional wrestling at a time. And I was lucky enough to grow up in Jacksonville. Don Curtis was a big old school wrestler, WWF champion with Mark Lewin here, and he was a promoter in Jacksonville. And I was going to high school with his daughter, Lisa Curtis. And he's the one that got me in touch with, you know, some of the promoters, Danny Miller and guys down Championship Wrestling from Florida.
Now, did you reach out to him and say, "Hey, I want to get into
Yeah,
wrestling"? It's like,
and-
"Yeah, I'll
and
hook
he,
you up."
He turned. He didn't really want me to do it. He said, "Go get an education. Go, you know, go to college." You know, I was a dual athlete. I wrestled and played football in high school, and I had scholarship offers at Florida State, Georgia Southern, Central Florida. So you know, I could have went anywhere and played football if I wanted to.
That's pretty
And
nice.
you know, I decided on going into pro wrestling right out of high school.
Wow. And so, who actually trained you?
There was a guy down in Jacksonville. He ran a lot of outlaw shows. His name was Mike Prather. And there was a guy, Hallie Lee, and they started, and Larry Hamilton. He was Thunderfoot Larry Hamilton, Thunderbolt Larry Hamilton, excuse me. He wrestled a lot out of Jacksonville, and he wrestled like Southeastern Wrestling, Continental, Florida Championship. So I had all these guys teaching me, you know, and I started out like an outlaw promotion, you know, like little territories. I worked for Peach State Wrestling with this guy Ben Masters, and then I went up to Atlanta and worked a little bit with Southern Championship when Jerry Blackwell held the promotion, Joe Pedicino, those guys. So I got made a name for myself in the Florida, Georgia circuit, and a little bit in Dothan, Alabama, and stuff like that.
What was the pay like?
Pay? Well, back then we used to do a thing where you had to pay your dues, and I used to have to set up the ring, break the ring down. I'd referee some matches, whatever I had to do to try to get, you know, my foot in the door, because I didn't have any family in the business or anything like that, and I didn't really know too many guys that would take a liking to a young green kid, you know. So I just had to do whatever they told me to do. I would get jobbed out every, you know, for first year and a half, and just paying my dues and making a name and learning and, you know, honing my craft and stuff like that.
How do you feel when you see wrestlers today like a Jordan Miles, otherwise known as ACH from Ring of Honor? He's been very, very, it seems very ungrateful towards the business, as he's now quit on Vince and has a lot of things to say. Meanwhile, behind the scenes when you were breaking in, what did he just describe having to do?
I mean,
you know, he
you had to pay
complained
your
about
dues.
it like severely. How do you feel when you see the kids today? Like, you don't even know what you got, kid?
I mean,
or,
all these guys now, I mean, they wouldn't last, old school,
Yeah.
they wouldn't last a month in the ring. I mean, they would test you, the guys like Bob Roop, you know, they'd put you in the ring with a guy like Bob Roop, and he put a sugar hole down you or stretch you, or, you know, they'd shoot on you back then
Right.
to see if you were tough enough to make it. You know, they broke Hiro Matsuda broke Hogan's leg. You know, 'cause he
Did they give
wasn't-
you a problem, though, that, like you said, you had no family business? So you mentioned Mike Graham. right? He was, and his father Eddie.
Right.
Did they give you a hard time down there?
They didn't really give me a hard time. I started right after Eddie passed away.
Okay.
So Kevin Sullivan was booking, Wahoo McDaniel was booking down in Florida. So I needed guys for TV. I would come down and do TV. I put guys over on TV, learning. Barry Horowitz was there as Jack Hart. Kendall Windham was just breaking into business back then. Ed Gantner and Dewey Forte were breaking into business. Ron Simmons and Dewey Forte. Ed the Bull Gantner. They were shock troops, and Ray Candy and all these guys. It was just a different time back then, and you had to pay your dues. And, you do house shows. Somebody didn't show up. Somebody got hurt. They throw you in there. You work battle royals. You work 2-3 times sometimes on TV, and you make a $75 pay, and I'd drive down from Jacksonville to down to Tampa, and then I'd drive back to Jacksonville. And the gas alone back then, you'd probably spend $50 on gas. 4 hours one way, 4 hours back, get something to eat. You're not making any money. You're just doing it because you want to make a name and you want to learn the business, learn the craft, and try to get to the next level.
Now I know you're a married man and got a great family life, but I have to ask you, right? So the pay was terrible, but how were the ring rats back then?
Back then, before I was married, it was a good time. When I was with the WWF, I used to hang out with. Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
We got a lot of pictures.
Okay.
And, a lot of memories together.
He's a troublemaker.
Pictures.
Marty punched me,
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he kind of did, didn't he?
Kind of beat the shit out of me.
You know.
No Holds Barred. You're a big man. How did you get into No Holds Barred? Is it?
A funny story behind that is, at first, Pat Patterson called me up. And he says, look, we got a movie we're doing up in Atlanta. We got a part for you.
Yeah.
Think you'll be perfect for it. And I said, who is this? I thought they were ribbing me,
Right.
Pat Patterson's calling me,
Yeah.
Rick Allen, Back then I was known as Sandy Beach down in Georgia. So I said, okay.
You didn't have any strange requests or anything.
I kind of I said, yeah, this is Pat Patterson. Yeah, right. He goes, take my number down. Call me right
here
back.
we go. He's getting creepy already.
He gives me the number, and I said, yeah, right. I said, just stop ribbing me. Who is this? He goes, seriously, I want to talk to you. And he goes, if you don't believe me, call me back at my office.
All right.
So he gives me the office up in Connecticut. Back then they were on Main Street, Titan Sports. So I call him back, and I couldn't believe it was real, I was
Patterson.
like, wow, this is real. This is Pat Patterson, World Wrestling Federation, and I'm like, holy shit. I hope I didn't insult the man, so I apologize. He goes, no, I get it a lot. I know the boys, they rib. So he goes, look, we got this part for you. We want you to be the short headbanger. You're going to do a fight scene with Joe the Duke. And the first fight scene in the movie, in the Octagon ring. So I said, yeah, no problem. I'd love to do it. And I said, thank you so much. And he goes, after that, we want you to come full-time with us at WWF. So
wow.
They brought me on board with them. And right after the movie, a week after I got done with the movie, started, full-time with WWF.
You break in making a movie with Hogan, and now the next thing you know, you're full-time.
I'm shooting a movie with
what kind of
Hogan.
week
I'm on
was
the
that
set
for
with
you?
Joe the Duke and Stan Hansen and Tiny Lister as Zeus. And I'm like, hanging out with these big guys. And back then I was in really good shape, and I was,
Impressions of
focused on it.
Hogan when you met him.
When Hogan walked in the room, it was just like he lit up the room. Everybody was like, jaws dropped. And,
Rock star?
Just that's 100%.
Okay.
He was like rock star status, and watching him growing up, WrestleMania 1, Rocky movies, and all that. You're like in awe of him. Like the first time I met Dusty Rhodes, I was like, I got suspended one time. I was in high school, and I jumped up on a desk, and I came off the top of the desk with a bionic elbow on this kid's head. So I was ate up with the wrestling bug, and I got to live my dream. I did it for 15 years professional. I got to travel the world, got to meet some great people, got some great friendships out of the deal. Me and Stan Hansen, every time he comes to town, he stays at my house. His wife, Yumi, they're great people.
Yeah, we know. We had to get up early.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
We saw when I saw you at the big event. You the smile on your face. I could see just the family unit. All you guys when you get together. It's must be a really good feeling.
It's a great feeling. You have your family with your family. Your wife, your kids, your grandchildren. Then you have your other family, your wrestling family, because you're on the road with them. Probably you spend more time with your wrestling family when you're working full time than you do with your own family. So they become your family. Barry Horowitz, guys like Fred Ottman, Stan Hansen, you room with these guys, Tonga Fafita, Hercules Hernandez when he was alive. I got to hang out with some of the best guys in the business, and some of the biggest, toughest guys. Not that I'm a tough guy or nothing, but they respected me. I respected them. I always thanked them for matches, and did the right thing for everybody. You know, I never mouthed it off to anybody. I was the guy that, you know, would go in the locker room, say hello to everybody, keep my mouth shut, and just listen.
Right. Did you pattern yourself after anybody's style as you were breaking in? You know, when you were being trained, did you say, I like this certain wrestler? Who rubbed off on you, basically?
Believe it or not, Barry Windham.
Barry Windham, Mike's personal, one of his all-time faves.
One of my
Mine too.
favorites, Barry Windham, Randy Savage.
Okay.
I like Randy, Ricky
Okay.
Steamboat, a lot of guys, you know, and Mike Graham, Jack Briscoe, Harley Race. There were so many different guys. And growing up in Florida, I had the opportunity to, every Thursday night, Jacksonville Coliseum, I used to go down and watch them, and I'd be, you know, ringside and just in awe of these guys. And it was just a great time back then in the late 70s, early 80s.
When does the shine rub off, you know, kind of come off you, right? So kind of marking out like all of us do, but
In the
eventually
sure.
start, when does it start to wear off?
After you start, you know, working and, you know, you pay your dues and you're still paying your dues and you're just barely making it, you know. And then when they become your peers and they respect you and they let you work in the ring against them and some of the guys you grew up watching, and, you know, Stan Hansen, I wrestled, me and Patriot wrestled him and Johnny Ace at Cork and Hall for a Bruiser Brody Memorial one night. And Stan's letting me work, you know, and you know, Stan's the biggest name American back then in Japan, and he's letting me body slam him and come off the ropes on, you know, and work, you know, and that was a great, you know, he was trying to get me over. And it was great to, you know, have a guy with Stan's position, the #1 American in the company, you know, making a young kid look good, you know, over in Japan. Same thing with Abby and, you know, stuff like that.
Abdul
the Butcher. And,
right.
you know, they would let me work, and that was like the greatest compliment, you know. Guys that would come in there and eat you up and squash you and everything, what does that do, you know? You know, you're there as enhancement talent a lot of times, like with WWF. You know, everybody says, you know, we're jobbers, you know, we're pieces of meat, you know. Yeah, but, you know, I got paid all the way to the bank, you know. I looked at it as a job. I didn't look at like at a mark, you know, like I'm marking out. You know, I knew what I had to do to make a living, and I tried to, you know, do that.
And back then, the enhancement talent was very important to building your peers,
to get
right?
Guys over.
Yeah, you had to get guys over.
You know, you're telling a story, and now there's not too many storytelling. It's all high spots, and I'm looking at all this stuff going on. They got, you know, 20 false finishes, and, you know, trying to get guys over. And some of these guys that are getting over now would have never got over back then. You know, 120 pounds soaking wet, and, you know, they're over.
I mean, this is why I like the old school wrestlers,
Yeah.
right? Because they just call. I feel the
call it
same
like
way.
I see it.
I don't want to
You know,
see a wrestler 120 pounds. I don't want to feel like I could go and beat the shit out of that guy. Exactly. I want to be scared. Like, I would have messed up.
I mean, you're paying, you know, 20, 30, 40 bucks for a ticket. Would you want to go see a 180-pound guy against a 120-pound guy, and that the 120-pound guy go over when you knew, you know, this guy could twist him into a pretzel?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and who's the mark? You know, it's like, you know, it's like crazy.
Oddly enough, on the aerial wrestling approach, your TV debut way back was in a, if I'm not mistaken, if I did my homework somewhat correctly, was you a team with a fellow named Rusty Riddle versus the Rockers. What's your memories of the Rockers? Because back then they could have been accused of being the flippy floppy guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were just so fresh and great and ahead of their time. Plus, they had real true charisma, and you could take them seriously.
The Rockers
I don't know
were
about
good.
today.
I mean, both of them. I mean, back then Marty was the stronger of the two. You know, when they first came to WWF, Marty was, you know, teaching Shawn.
Right.
And then, you know, somewhere along the way, you know, I guess they were both jockeying for position, and Shawn wanted to take it to the next level, and he did what he had to do to get there. You know, and kind of left Marty in the.
I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut you off on that one, but what do you mean he had to do what he had to do to get there? This is like people. This is about the fourth person that said that. Like, Shawn found a way somehow to get there.
Like finagle behind the scenes.
Not putting anybody down, because everybody.
Finagle. The ultimate finagler.
You got to put it like this: everybody's in business for themselves.
Sure.
You know, at the end of the day, you're the one, you know,
sure,
answering whatever you want to do. Nobody's going to make me do something I don't want to do. And the same thing with the guys. You know, you got a choice: either you comply with what the office is asking you to do, or you don't, and then you won't have a job. So if one of your partners is looking to go to another territory or go hold out for more money or something, and you got bills to pay and you got a family to feed and a wife and kids at home, you're going to do what you got to do to get where you need to be. And, you know, I don't fault anybody for doing that, but, you know, if you're a tag team, you know, you should, you know.
Do you feel Marty was left at the side of the road?
Yes,
because it
no.
kind of sounds that way.
Marty's his own worst enemy. I love Marty Jannetty to death.
Okay.
And you know, and Marty's had more chances than most. And
Okay.
He squandered some of them. He's been put over. He's been, you know, it's sad because Marty is an awesome talent, great guy, but you know, Marty, you know, has nobody to answer to but Marty. You know, when you look in the mirror, you're the one that's responsible for your actions.
So do you think Sean realized that Marty was going down the wrong road and said, "I'm not going this way"?
I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, ultimately, I think so. I can't speak for Sean, but you know, when you're in business and you're a tag team, you got to do what's best for the team. You know, and if the office is asking you to do something, you know, you should do it. You know, if they're the ones paying you. You know, I always looked at it as a business approach. You know, and that's, you know, if they could pay you, yeah. If you weren't happy with it, or if you didn't want to do a job or put somebody over, you had that choice. No, I don't want to do it, and you could leave.
Right.
You know, nobody put a gun to my head and said, you know, go out there and put Demolition over, or put this guy over, or go do a squash job for Bruiser Brody. Go in there, let him kick you in the head and fall down, and you know, 1, 2, 3. You know, nobody did that to me. You know, I was responsible for my own actions.
Did you ever come across Frank Williams?
Frank Williams.
The ultimate.
did
Come
that
on, I'm just curious because
Frank
he's got Barry Horowitz connections.
Frankie
I thought
Williams.
he might know Frankie Williams.
You can remember that infamous Piper's Pit where Frankie Williams was a talent enhancement guy.
For many
I think
years,
this is actually
man.
before
He was
I don't
awesome.
think I remember.
No, I
Frankie
know it
Williams.
was, but I'm just curious if he ever came across the man because Frankie Williams was the ultimate enhancement talent, and then Barry Horowitz. What? These guys were awesome. You know what's funny? We used to emulate them in the backyard when we were kids.
Sure.
People can laugh at jobbers all they want and talk down, but we were emulating Frankie Williams versus Snooker, whoever.
So
you know
what team would no sell for you, or did they all not no sell for you?
what?
Because the Rockers, I heard, were notorious for not selling.
Really? Now?
Demolition, from what I understood, they wanted them to be strong all the time.
Demolition
so that
was strong all the time. Road Warriors were strong all the time.
Did you have a problem with any of them being this way in the ring?
I never
They were
had a
cool.
problem with
Behind the
them.
scenes,
Yeah,
everything
they
was
were,
good.
You know, it was business. You know, you had to, you know, if you're on the road, you know, 3 weeks on, 2 days off, 2 weeks on, 3 days off. You know, you're probably wrestling in a month, probably 25, 26 days out of the month.
Any
know, when
team
you're
you
against.
dreaded getting in the ring with the most just because of the physical? Like, oh man, this is going to be
Not
rough.
really. I mean, I
Nice.
took care of myself in the ring, and I didn't let anybody, you know, potato me or hurt me, you know.
Okay.
I mean, once in a while, you know, somebody would catch you, you know, but a couple guys, Coco Beware,
Oh.
he was a little smaller.
who we
than
had
me.
in studio?
He gave me a Ghostbuster once, and he dropped me on my head.
Oh,
And if I'm giving my body to somebody, they're supposed to take care of
Yeah.
it, you know, in our business.
Yeah, he slammed my head on the desk.
I will tell you this: that was an incredible move, but probably so dangerous. I
It
used to
was.
cringe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it takes
I
a lot
had
of guts to
swinger.
allow someone to do that to you.
I gave up my body, and he didn't take care of me that day. And I was like, you know, I thought I was, you know, I saw stars, and I was like, you know, almost
Right.
like paralyzed because I felt, you know, like a lightning bolt goes.
So what
down
do
my
you
neck.
say to him
Yeah,
after
any
something like
conversation
that?
I
after the
said, what
match?
happened? You know, I went back. I said, what happened? Why'd you drop me on my head? Well, you didn't get up for me. I said, I didn't get up for you. I said, I'm 275 pounds. If you can't lift me up, you should have told me and you do another finish or something.
Right.
But that was his big finish, the Ghostbuster that was on TV, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, he dropped me on my head. So he's about one, maybe two other people. You know, I got hurt in the ring a couple of times, but I would never let people know it if I was hurt or nothing. But that time I was hurt. You know.
So you get the call from the WWE.
Right.
You know it's the land of the big guys.
Oh, it was great.
How? Now you're a big man yourself, still a big man. The juice? Did you have to hit the gas? Did you feel you had to hit the gas? Did you hit the gas?
I did hit the gas. I did a little testosterone and Dianabol back when it was, you know, somewhat, you know,
Legal
and acceptable. You know, you could get it. Your doctor give you a prescription, and I did it the right way. I went to a doctor and I got it prescribed. I did 2 cycles of that, and I was already a big guy. Out of high school, I was like 250 pounds. So I put about another 25 pounds of muscle on after that, and I was bench pressing over 500 pounds. And you know, I was in really decent shape. And when I went to Vince, and when I was in the movie, and it was just I did it, but back then steroids was a common thing in the locker rooms and, you know, all across America. Every wrestling promotion You know, there was juice guys there. Everybody was on this juice.
Any change in mood when you were taking these things? Valentine described it. He didn't like it either. He got off it after a few cycles. Said he followed it, but he said it made him irritable. Any change in mood?
For me, it wasn't. I mean, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy.
Right.
I mean, what you see is what you get with me. I have no hidden agendas or nothing. You know, I'm a family man.
So it didn't affect you that way at all?
It didn't affect me at all. I mean, my appetite got bigger. I was eating like 4 meals a day and stuff, but I was working out, you know, like 3 hours a day and then going to the matches. And, you know, we were living in a gym, flying to town or driving from town to town. And we didn't have time to do anything else, really.
So you're making $75 a week down in Florida. You get the call.
It was a game changer after that.
So let's talk about No Holds Barred first. What does it kind of pay to be put into a movie like No Holds Barred, which was, I think, McMahon's first venture into movies, right?
It was unbelievable. I went from making like $75 a night to, you know, $750 a night. You know, it was like, you know, $750.
And you were doing 6 or 7 shots a week, right?
I was doing like 2 weeks on, 3 days off, 3 weeks on, 2 days off. So I was making,
unreal.
You know, like anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a week. And it's a young kid, you know, 24 years old.
Yeah, how many years back you're making that kind of money too?
This was back in '88.
Yeah,
you know.
So Evan Ginsberg, who used to have a show here, we call him the hidden jewel of professional wrestling. He was the associate producer for The Wrestler. We spoke a little earlier with Mickey Rourke. He also has a documentary, 350 Days. He is a huge proponent for wrestlers having a pension and medical benefits. You're explaining to me, and I'm going to give my viewpoint here, you're making some real cash. You're making $5,000 a week.
Right.
Right? And to be honest, how much are you wrestling? 10 minutes a night?
10, 20 minutes a night.
Right? At most.
Nice.
Do you
you're
think
living out of a suitcase for
I get it. Is your travel paid for?
Your hours for dollars.
Is your travel paid for?
Your
With
plane
Vince.
tickets were paid for with Vince, but you had to pay your own hotel and your own trans, your car. You know, and we usually get 3 or 4 guys
And
to
you'd hook
ride
up.
together. We'd hook up, and we'd split a car. We'd share hotel rooms. You know, get a double room or something.
So does McMahon owe wrestlers like yourself or anybody else? And you know, you're in great shape. God bless. Some aren't in such great shape. You spoke about Marty Jannetty. Marty, we know, has had his problems. Some other guys
like
Superstar Billy
Kamala.
Graham, Kamala.
Yeah.
Does he owe them anything?
You know, it's hard to say because I wish everybody could be taken care of the right way if they put their time in and do what's asked of them as a company person. And most of these guys that you just mentioned were all main event guys. You know, all these guys, there should have been like a pension, or they should have put some of the receipts away to take care of the boys in an older age or something, or have insurance policies so when they get hurt. Like, look at Kamala. You know, he's amputee now and he's wheelchair bound. Superstar Billy Graham, from all of the steroid uses and stuff. He's had hip replacements. His joints and bones are disintegrating and stuff like that. And every other, you know, month you see he's in the hospital now, you know, later in life. Marty, his ankle shot, you know, for many years now. And he couldn't really earn a living because he was hurt. You know, a lot of times he couldn't wrestle. So a lot of these guys that get hurt, there should have been some type of compensation or insurance or something to take care of them. A lot of guys that got divorced, a lot of guys commit suicide or pills and alcohol and car accidents. And half the guys I wrestled with in WWF are gone right now that I was with in 88, 89, 90. You know, from all this tragic stuff that's happened.
And you were good friends with these people.
I was great friends with a lot
So
of them.
how heart-wrenching is that to hear these guys passing on a regular basis like
I
they
mean,
were?
some of these guys, they had to do the steroids, Benoit, the Bulldogs. There's just, the list goes on and on. You know, the roids, they damage your brain.
Is it the roids or is it the uppers, the downers, the morphine?
It's a combination of all of
you
it.
know?
It's, you know, and back then, if you got hurt, somebody else is waiting right in the wings to take your spot, you know? So you had to wrestle hurt. You had to wrestle, you know, keep going hurt. So you're taking pills, ups, downs. You're taking pills to fall asleep. You're taking pills to stay awake. I saw these guys, and thank God I never got caught up in any of that. I've never done any pills, never smoked pot, any drugs in my life. The only thing I did was some testosterone and Dianabol.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to reach out to some of them, like maybe the British Bulldog, when you saw he was having problems, say, "What are you doing, dude? Stop!" You know.
I mean, some of these guys. I mean, and the Bulldogs. You know, everybody knows the notorious ribbers and stuff. And I was there that night when Rougeau knocked Dynamite's teeth out.
Can you tell that story?
I could tell it. I was walking down the hallway where you're going back on TV tapings. They used to have the food set up, and they'd have everything catered and stuff, so you could get food throughout the day when you're doing interviews, and you get to the arena early. And, Vince would meet with your production team or whatever. So back then, you could do your interviews, and they didn't have, everything wasn't scripted like it was. The guys would go in and shoot from the hip and shoot their own videos. They didn't have a creative team or anything like that talking for them. So I was going to get some coffee, and I was walking down the hallway. And Dynamite was in front of me, about maybe 15, 20 feet in front of me. I guess he was going to get something to eat too. Pat Patterson and Rougeau were walking down the hallway, and Rougeau was walking, and I saw him, and he looked at Dynamite. And Dynamite, I gave him like what's up, like a head up, and when he looked back down, Rougeau just clobbered him. I think he had a roll of quarters or something in his hand or something, but he knocked him, and all you see was teeth and just blood coming out.
Was Dynamite Kid like an asshole though?
Most of the time, yeah. He did a lot of crazy stuff. They used to abuse Terry Taylor. They used to cut his suits up. They'd take a razor blade and cut his suits. And back when he was doing the Red Rooster gimmick and stuff, I mean, I've seen them abuse a lot of people. They would put halcyons in people's drinks at the bars. They used to do just crazy stuff. They used to take a dump in somebody's boot, and they'd watch and, be in the locker room, or they'd take their Halliburton and, do crazy stuff to it. I mean, I always, had somebody watching my bag, or I'd have my Halliburton locked up. I didn't trust anybody. Or I'd, get dressed at the hotel and, go to the arena and,
What was the worst rib anyone did for you, on you?
Me, I had my eyebrows shaved before, on the plane. I think the Bulldogs halcyon on me once, and I passed out after the bar, and one of them shaved my eyebrow.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid, though, to do that. Though. They could kill you with that stuff, right?
Yeah, they could. I mean, God forbid you had some type of medical condition, and they pop a pill in you, and you don't know what you're taking. And, there's a lot of people that, have done some crazy stuff like that throughout the years. But, they were notorious ribbers.
Unfortunately, this is notorious, but we'll ask anyway. You faced Chris Benoit over in Canada early on. Any memories of the match with Chris, and your thoughts on Benoit in the end?
I was wrestling with Stampede. Owen Hart actually got me booked up there with his family, and that back then I think Bulldog Bob Brown was booking, and I forgot. I think Davey Boy might have started booking, or Dynamite back. Probably a couple of weeks. They brought in me, Don Morocco, the late Randy Culley that just passed away last week.
Yep.
He was up there at the time.
The Moondog.
They brought in, who else? Larry Cameron was there. Mike Shaw, Norman the Lunatic, Beef Wellington, Johnny Smith. I mean, we had a great team up there. And then, what's his name? His son's wrestling now. Brian Pillman.
Oh, yeah.
Pillman came up there then too. And the Power Twins were there, Larry and Dave Sontag. So I was wrestling with all these guys, and they had me booked against Benoit in his hometown of Edmonton for the Commonwealth Heavyweight Championship up there. That was like, one of their big titles up there. So Benoit just got back from Japan, and, and we were talking, and, I was a lot bigger than Benoit at the time, and, they wanted to go, 30-minute, and he caught me at the end with the flying headbutt, the Pegasus headbutt that he did off the top rope. And I made him look great, and it was a great match.
It was an awesome move.
And it was back and forth the whole match, and I was doing some stuff that, flying around, and,
How strong was he?
He was pretty strong. I mean, he was like, I think he was stronger between him, Dynamite, and Davey Boy. Those were, for their size, pound for pound, they were really
Very deceiving.
Strong. Very deceiving. Okay. Steve Blackman, another strong guy. Okay. Deceiving. Johnny Smith. I mean, all these guys, they could all wrestle. They were all, wrestlers. And
were you shocked when you heard the news about Benoit?
I was, because I knew Nancy when she was married to Kevin, and we were on an overseas tour with John Arizzi together, all of us, when we went to the Philippines and Singapore for a Southeast Asia tour. And then, I was just really shocked with, my time in championship wrestling from Florida. Well, I used to train down at Athletes Fitness Center, Rick Poston's gym, and Deb Poston down in Tampa. And Kevin and Nancy were always in there training. So I've known them for a lot of years, like, you know, from the mid 80s, you know, and then when I heard about that, I mean, my heart just, you know, was broken, especially, you know, their young son and everything, you know. Nobody deserves that.
Do you think they should ban, like they have that whole thing going on with Lashley and Lana right now, and all I think about is every time they put this, like, these couples together from real life marriages, somehow they always break up. I mean, how was Sullivan when this went down? Were you talking to him at that time when they broke up?
I wasn't really talking to him because he was with WCW and I was with, you know, Vince and stuff at the time. And then we were doing, you know, after that, like when we were doing the Rizzy stuff and, you know, some appearances, and, you know, I talked to him a little bit, but she was still, last time I saw Kevin and Nancy was like that Southeast Asia tour. And then after that, I think Benoit got with Nancy after that. So back when they were with WCW, when Kevin went back to booking down there in Atlanta. But, you know, like the Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth thing, and then, you know, with Mark Marrow and Rita Marrow and all that, and, you know. Well,
I always say that's the one you have to let go because, you know, you can't do anything about that. If
Lesnar's
going to take your woman, you can't do anything. It's like, all right, forget it.
You know,
you win.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
You know, when they're put in that position, you know, and there's probably 10 or 15 other ones that we all don't know about.
Right.
You know, but, you know, nobody should, you know, leave your wife out of the business, you know. That's what I would do.
Well, like, that's what I'm saying. You guys like family, like this net
family.
family.
There's certain rules, you know. You don't mess with wives, you don't mess with family, you don't mess
but
with
what do you do
girlfriends.
when they're a draw? Like Elizabeth was a draw.
Liz was a huge draw.
Woman was excellent in what she did. I mean, what are you going to do when the girl's fantastic at what she does? Now you got a problem. You really got a problem.
You got a huge problem.
What does Sunny Beach feel like when they don't let things rest? For example, when I read a rumor that Kevin Sullivan really did this instead of Chris Benoit, what do you feel like when you read a rumor like that? Does that you were on the inside, you knew these people. What does this make you feel like when you read something like this? Because I go crazy.
Kevin's DNA. I mean, Kevin's a great guy, and you know, if Nancy wanted to be with Benoit, and Kevin would have probably gave a blessing and said, you know, if we grew apart, you know, everybody, you know, in marriages and life, you know. Get divorced. You don't have to kill somebody. You know, you get divorced if it's not working out, and you move on.
Yeah.
You know, but some of the stuff in life, you know, life imitates art.
How do you think the guys would have been back in the day with the way the internet is today if the internet was around back then?
We'd probably all be in jail.
Killing people.
Or beating down a lot of people.
We got, you know, a lot of times, you know, like we were living that rock star life. I mean, you know, we were in, you know. We'd pull into town, you know, and we'd go to the gyms, and everybody, you know, Gold's Gym, they're giving us T-shirts to wear, and you know, letting us work out for free, giving you supplements, you know, everything. Yeah. Restaurants are buying you dinner, bars, people buying you drinks at the bars. You know, it was like.
So wait a minute. So you're making $5,000 to $7,000 a week.
It's going on.
You get free dinner, free drinks, free this.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Oh my God!
Right.
It was. I mean, I wasn't used
just
to
save a few dollars. That's all.
I used to pay for everything. You know, it was like really, you know, and I wouldn't take anything because I was brought up down south.
Right.
So you know, you thank you, yes sir, no ma'am, you know, manners, and I wasn't used to people buying me anything. You know, and it was like, oh my God. And, you know, guys are like, hey, what are you doing? Put your wallet back. You know, like, you know, if you want to leave a tip or something, you know, we tip them, you know. And, you know, back then, you know, when we were all running around single, you know, we'd go to Atlanta, Georgia, and there was a place called the Gold Club down there. And the boys, forget about it. Down in Dallas, Fort Worth, the place Fantasy Ranch. I mean, these strippers would come out, and they loved the boys. And
well, you both work at each other, right?
Oh, my God. I mean, back before I was married, forget about it. It was like you were a rock star.
Yeah.
I mean, you were really living the dream.
And you had a party name. So let me ask you, how did you
Sunny
come up
Beach,
with the name Sunny Beach? How do we get Sunny Beach?
Well, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I was always down at the beach. I was always tan. I was a lifeguard some summers and stuff. So back then I started out as Sandy Beach, but come to find out a DJ down in Florida had that name trademarked. So when I was with Vince, they said I had to cease and desist the name. So then I came up and just changed it to Sunny Beach. Kept, you know, the S and the Y and changed a couple letters around. And
your idea, or did Vince come strolling in? I've got an idea.
No, it was my idea.
There you go. Okay, just
But,
want to make sure because you never know with Vince.
They have all these lawyers, Jerry McDevitt or whatever. They could have had all these guys, on payroll. And if they really wanted to fight it, they'll say, "Look, he's a wrestler. You're a DJ."
They probably could have squashed it.
Yeah, they could have probably squashed it. If they really wanted.
I think Sunny Beach is better than Sandy Beach.
Yeah.
Sandy Beach is almost like next to Krusty Beach. I don't want that. I want the Sunny Beach.
Dirty Beach.
Crusty Beach. Did you ever hear of a Crusty Beach, Jim?
What, the Krusty Krab? I watched too much SpongeBob. SpongeBob.
What is this?
It's SpongeBob
there you
SquarePants.
go.
What's wrong
I've
with
never
you?
seen it.
Oh, boy.
So it's Crusty Beach?
That's the Krusty Krab.
What is Sunny Beach's most match that you're most proud of?
Oh.
Oh wow, there's so many of them.
There we go. Come on. What's your
Wrestle
favorite?
with
What's
Andre
your
the Giant was a great one.
Oy.
Me and
Where do you wrestle Andre? How does that come
we
around?
were in Japan, and in 1991, Stan Hansen brought me over there for the World Tag League Championships, and they partnered me up with Johnny Ace over there. Johnny was over like a ton of bricks in Japan, and they brought me in, the Beach Blonde, all that stuff. So some of the greatest tag teams, Steve Dr. Death Williams and Bam Bam Gordy, Stan Hansen and Dan Spivey were a tag team, the British Bulldogs, Abdul the Butcher and Kamala, Dory Funk Jr. and Al Perez were a tag team.
And this is a tournament?
The Destroyer against all the Japanese
This
names.
is wild.
Jumbo Saruda and Giant Baba, or Andre the Giant and Giant Baba Tawe, Jumbo Saruda.
Jumbo Saruda with a T.
Yeah, they were the major team. Kenta Kobashi and
Sure. Dude.
Masawa Kawada.
This is
so I
huge.
got to wrestle all these huge names over there, and that was like my defining moment. And they put me over there. I won more matches in Japan probably than I did over here. On big TV. All Japan Pro Wrestling was like one of the best honors that I had. Wrestling in Budokan Hall. I mean, in front of a sellout, 20-some thousand people. Where Cheap Trick did live from Budokan. So I mean, we were in Tokyo Dome. A lot of big arenas over there. Sumo.
And the
arenas
pay was good
stuff.
there too, right?
Pay. I mean,
wow.
Pay was phenomenal there. We had our own phone cards over there, T-shirts. I mean, Ace and Beach, World Tag League.
And you worked for Baba.
We worked for Baba.
Nice.
Mr.
Giant
Baba.
Baba.
I mean, he was Giant Baba was an honorable man, a handshake and his word. I mean, I would go over there and I would make like $10,000 a week.
Oh man!
I was there, 3-4 weeks.
Give them medical.
Pension.
Floss their teeth.
You go over there 2-3 times a year. That's you're making over $100,000 a year. You go 2-3 times.
That's insane.
100,000 a year.
Back then.
Back then,
You know what that is now?
90 and 91. I mean, 91.
But your
and
times,
92,
wait,
I was there.
100,000 divided by 10 minutes a day.
Stop.
That's
A lot of money.
a lot of money. Wow.
It
is.
I wish I grew up 6'5" and 260.
And then when I
I've been
went
ready
back
to
the
go.
second time, they tagged me with the Patriot, Del Wilkes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had some really great matches over there, and they loved us because I did the beach gimmick with the body glove wetsuit. Del had the the hood on, the red, white, and blue, and it got over.
How much more physical, though, obviously, in Japan compared to here?
It's night and day.
Okay, so you're getting more money, but you're also getting twice the beating.
You were getting. I mean, you would earn your money over there.
Okay.
I mean, you were. You're not going half speed over there. You're going full bore, and and you got to make the Japanese. They want to see it and they want to hear it, and you're laying those chops in. You're getting chopped. You're laying the punches in more, the kicks, everything else. Masao and Kawada, these guys were like ninjas over there. I mean, these guys were flying all over the place, and they weren't pulling nothing, And you couldn't communicate with a lot of Japanese boys. So the referee, the referee would tell you to finish. We go in there and we do our match, and nothing, you don't even talk any spots. You call it in the ring or do everything in the ring.
I want to talk about life after wrestling, but Jim, I want to get to the my favorite part of the show.
What?
The Evan Ginsberg rant of the week.
Good.
Sonny, what we do here you, Farrow, and Jim can discuss your feelings about this rant, if you have any.
Okay.
And then we're going to go back to you with life after wrestling. Alrighty, so I heard the rant. It's my favorite part. All right. My New Year's resolution is to radically cut down on Facebook, period. Really. I'm not a kid anymore. Just as I made a resolution to stop watching Raw in 2018, which I've kept.
Yes.
Which I think might be a lie. But
No, I think he has kept that. Stop.
I need to cut down on this.
What?
I'll have a stroke one day, and they'll find my
Here we go.
head down on the keyboard with my final words, asshole,
What?
Jack Clown. I don't know.
He didn't say that. What did he say?
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
He just put letters.
Maybe asshole something.
Oy.
Thoughts, Sonny, on
I
that?
didn't get the ending.
Facebook.
Are you a big Facebook guy?
Oy.
I kind of am. My kids got me into it, and my wife doesn't like it because she says my life is an open book now, and it's for the whole world to read.
Some of us
But,
do feel that way.
Like living in Northport, I got a lot of deer in my neighborhood, so I go and feed my deer and stuff, and I walk out in the woods, and it's nice. And I put pictures of deer up there, and people call me the deer whisperer now. I mean,
Okay.
'cause
You should do some YouTube videos.
Yeah, I should probably. I
Why
take
not?
pictures and I post them on Facebook.
There you go.
And then once in a while I'll have a nice meal at Rob Key's. I'll post my meal, like a chicken parmesan. But now since I've been dieting, I've been eating more fish and salmon and grilled chicken. So I'll have salads and I'm posting and stuff. So people are living vicarious through me, I guess. But I shouldn't be on Facebook that much anymore, and I'm trying to limit my time on Facebook.
Do you get
now.
angry from Facebook? Like, do you feel like you have to, like Mr. Ginsburg, rant?
I don't really get
About
angry.
what's going
I mean, I
on.
don't really look at too much of the other stuff. I mean, I just put up what I like to see or what I.
Do you ever read something and you just want to
Some of the
go
stuff
crazy?
I read, some of the stuff is like, I can't believe people are putting this on there.
Do you stay away from politics on Facebook?
I do. Politics,
Smart
and religion.
man. Good.
I own
And
a
religion.
business,
Good.
and I try not to
Yeah.
get involved in any of that.
Yeah.
Because I think you should have some type of privacy. With your family, religion,
Right.
and politics. You should keep that to yourself.
I do want to just point out the
Sure.
fact that he touts himself as a writer, but he has a lot of run-on sentences.
The grammar
I'm
police.
just saying.
The
Just saying.
grammar police?
I
If
can't
you
say
can't write
that.
it right, don't write it at all.
Come on.
As you know,
Oy.
Jim, we go back and forth. I'm probably not one of the best writers. My spelling's okay,
Yeah.
but writing-wise,
Your spelling's
my grammar's
okay?
not my spelling's fine.
It is?
Dude, I'm typing fast. I'm doing
Dude,
18
D-U-D? Yeah, your spelling's fine. Anyway,
your
go on.
thoughts on the?
I don't have any
Ginsburg rant
thoughts.
of the week?
I want to know what the last words were. You and it's like reading a book. You get to the end,
No,
and you flub the last
No,
line. I don't even know what he
That's
said.
actually what he wrote. He
What?
wrote
What?
A-S-X-F-D.
I think maybe it was like ass.
It's supposed to be
clown or something.
asshole, but he
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
want to curse.
Right.
okay.
He don't want to upset folk.
You know how I feel about Facebook.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm with his wife in general on that one. I can't stand it because it's a free pass for pussies to just go wild. Check me out. I can't. I hate Facebook. And as far as politics goes, if I'm not going to watch Rush Limbaugh back in the day, and I'm not going to watch any of these guys today, why, when I go to Facebook and I want to have a good time, which Facebook is supposed to be, supposed to be for joy, the first thing I get is 75 different guys who've appointed themselves political expert. I don't want to see this. It's like, oh, I don't care about your damn opinion.
Being an ex-wrestler,
That's how I feel.
all I see is, because as we're growing, right, you get
Yeah.
all these wrestling fans now. They're starting to want to be part of it, right? And,
All right.
But everybody's a wrestling expert. Everybody's a politician.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
Everybody's
funny
everything.
part. I mean,
Oy.
I watch some of these people and they're commenting on people's matches, and this guy could have done this better, this guy could have done that better.
Right.
And
Right.
they've never stepped a foot in a ring.
Right.
So,
Right.
you're that
You can
Sunday
observe as a
armchair quarterback.
And then you go to their profile and
Yeah, it's like Pee Wee Herman or somebody.
Look, you can observe as a fan, but there's, you should know.
Have respect.
Yeah.
It's an art.
Thank you.
It's like,
It is an art.
movies.
It is an art.
It's a
Absolutely.
long art form that's, seen better days now.
Speaking of lost art, real fast, do you feel that? How do you feel about managers? I know you had an encounter back in the day. You came across Lou Albano. Do you feel that managers are like lost in today's business?
I think they are. I think the managers used to be a mouthpiece for somebody that couldn't really talk good, or if they wanted to get somebody over, they'd have the managers come out there, or valets like Miss Elizabeth, or people like that would come out and like create a diversion, or the guys back before the divas and all that stuff were there. You had people like Missy Hyatt, Dark Journey, Woman.
I got to be honest with you though.
Uh-oh.
The
we go.
women today are much better
Here
looking
we
than women.
go.
Look, Elizabeth was smoking hot back then.
Right,
but
back then.
I'm telling you,
But there was only one of her. Everybody else looked like a grapefruit.
But wait,
Velvet McIntyre. Check out those feet. I quit. I don't want to see that.
Bonnie Richter,
Yeah.
back then, Sherry Martel, God rest her soul.
Right.
Sherry Martel was
I mean,
awesome.
There were some great,
She was awesome.
great talented
No,
women.
they were talented.
Medusa was one of the most talented female wrestlers.
Now we're
I've
getting into
ever
the
watched.
90s, though, aren't we? Like the
And
80s.
Sherry Martel, Moolah for
They,
all those years.
they were great wrestlers, but I'm a big fan of the women's division now. The women
didn't-
now,
wait
in
a
my
minute.
opinion, are just
didn't-
lights out.
You didn't have a poster of Judy Martin back in the day on you?
No.
Joyce Grable.
Judy Martin, Joyce Grable. Oh my God.
I mean, a lot of these women, I
the Jumping Bob Angels.
That one of them used to own
they were
a
way ahead of
Japanese
their
restaurant.
time.
Her and her husband on St. Mark's Street down in the village.
Those two were
called
way
Girl
ahead.
Sushi.
Way ahead of their time. In the ring,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Jumping Bomb Angels were what you see today. A lot
They're
of it.
great.
Wait.
All right, we're gonna name a couple of people. Tell me what you think of them. Good,
Okay.
bad, or indifferent. Doesn't really matter. But John Tolos.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. John was a great guy. He was a funny guy, the Golden Greek. Loved him when I was with UWF. We wrestled a lot against him, Beach Brawl. They put him up in a shark cage when me and Steve Ray wrestled Cactus Jack and Cowboy Bob Orton.
Man, I remember Beach Brawl.
Manatee
Boy.
Civic Center, the
You.
first UWF pay-per-view. And John was always a great guy. He would always give you pointers. Same with Bruno, same with Lou. They were always looking to help the younger guys.
Real fast.
Yes.
Should John Tolos be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
100%.
Thank you. Next, Mike. Who you got next?
John and his brother Chris.
Okay.
Roddy Piper.
What a classy guy he was. He changed wrestling.
You faced him.
I mean, I wrestled Piper before, but it was like, it was a night off. He took care of you in the ring. And, he was doing his thing. He was always over, and he was a great mouthpiece. You ever see his work in Mid-Atlantic and Georgia Championship? I mean, the dog collar matches between him and Greg Valentine. I used to love watching all
Once
that
they put him with Soley in Georgia Championship Wrestling, that's, again, we didn't really get Mid-Atlantic. Back in the days, we could only see the magazines, but
him and
Georgia.
Ole Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the feuds they were having. And
Piper Morocco had a great
Piper.
showdown.
Oh, Morocco, what a great
The roll
guy
of
he was.
quarters at the Omni.
Oh, yeah, when he knocked him
Bang!
out. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Pedro Morales.
Oh,
Pedro, I only met Pedro a handful of times, always a gentleman. I'm great friends with Jose Luis Rivera and Jose Estrada, and every time I go to Puerto Rico, I go to visit with them a lot. And Pedro was revered in the Puerto Rican community. I mean, back then when you had like Bruno with the Italians, you had Davey O'Hannon with the Irish, you had, Pedro with the Puerto Ricans. That's what was selling tickets back then, in all the neighborhoods, You go to the Bronx, or you go to Madison Square Garden. Bruno sold out Madison Square Garden more times than Billy Joel. It was like, back then. And it was unbelievable. And that was just with wrestling.
Johnny Rodz is in the Hall of Fame. Does Estrada deserve?
I think so.
Thank you.
I think they both
Thank you.
are well deserved because both of them are journeymen. Both of them can make anybody look good. And they help so many guys out along the way. Johnny Rodz is still down at Gleason's gym. And I used to go down there and train with Bobby Bold Eagle, Johnny Rodz. We'd go down there a lot. Some of my old timers would come down there. Johnny Valiant would come down. Some of these guys, I mean, it's priceless.
Cactus Jack, a nice guy.
Depends on.
Depends on
who
if
you're
you're
asking.
if you're at a Jet game. If you're at a Jet game and he's paid to shake your hand.
Right. Well, you might get a smile. You
might.
might not.
Don't interrupt him when he's eating his shrimp. Sorry.
Back when we were starting out, we did a lot of feuds together up and down the East Coast, me and Mick. And we worked for Tommy D. We worked for all different promoters. We worked with John Arizzi. I mean, I had great matches with Mick everywhere we went. I loved working with him. I promoted a couple of shows in Staten Island, and I had Mick over there. It was always a bloodbath, Plain Edge High School.
You ever worry for him when you saw him putting his body through
did.
that in his prime?
I knew.
What were your thoughts when he went through the table versus Taker off the top of the cage?
I thought he wasn't going to get up. I mean, I hope they gave him 6 months off after that because you need to recover. And some of that stuff, I mean, I don't think they could pay me enough. That would be something I'd probably say no to, going through a 30-foot cage with a drop and then landing on a ring.
Thoughts on Shane McMahon? That's what he does.
McMahon.
On Junior, what do you think of Shane compared to Vince?
I was around when Shane was refereeing and when he was helping set up the rings with a ring crew with Mel Phillips and all those guys back before they had all that scandal stuff, But Shane's really worked every aspect of this business, from setting up the rings to refereeing to, getting in the ring,
performing,
on-air talent, on the microphone, announcing everything. I have a lot of respect for the McMahon family. I really do, because Vince, even Stephanie McMahon, she's modeling rockers T-shirts and stuff back then, in the magazines and stuff with Steve Taylor, with the photography and everything. And Vince didn't hand them a lot of stuff. I mean, now I'm sure they're going to have to run in the company, but back then, they worked hard for everything.
I think
they got.
his father made him work, and he made his kids work.
And I respect that. And I have my son in my business. I own a security company here in Long Island. And my son's worked his way up from being a security guard, working construction sites, to working nightclubs, to helping book events, to helping recruit talent and stuff like that. So you got to give kids, something to do. And if you own a business like the McMahon's, let them work their way into the business if that's what they want to do. And let them choose whatever path they want to take.
So speaking of that, you retire from wrestling.
Right.
You probably have 10 suitcases of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do you what do you decide? Like, what business do you decide to go to? How does it happen?
Well, back when I wasn't wrestling, I was doing bodyguard work and stuff like that, working some nightclubs in New York City and stuff. And I've thought that maybe I could really do this, start my own business, a security company. And everywhere I went, I'd work the door, and people would go, "Hey, you got any big guys like yourself?" And so I put a team together. Then I started doing one club, then two clubs, and then big promotions. So I went and got my watch guard and patrol agency license back in 1999, right after I got out of wrestling. And I was selling telecom communications for a couple of years. I did very well at that, making 6 figures a year with a company called Telligent back then. And when I was working at Telligent, I started my security company on the weekends and stuff. And I started growing, and I started doing more stuff, more events, more nightclubs. I've done stuff from Copacabana nightclub, big stuff, La Marina nightclub, to all kinds of stuff out here, big events. We bodyguarded the Clintons before at some private events. I've done Pamela Anderson, country band Alabama, a lot of rock bands, 38 Special, Molly Hatchet back when I was in Jacksonville.
Scariest moment as a bodyguard? And
scariest moment, I was doing a thing for Mark Anthony and Jennifer Lopez in the city with Sony, and a bunch of people rushed in and were trying to get in there, and they had a meet and greet, so we had to take them out in the back way and stuff of a restaurant. We had a car waiting in the back just in case that happened. But you always plan ahead when you're doing security, and especially bodyguarding celebrities. You always got to know a way in, way out. I've done stuff with Leonardo DiCaprio. I did Marquee Nightclub for 10 years in the city.
Name of your company?
So, name of the company, American Protection Bureau.
And how do you come up with this name?
APB Security. I was Forte Security for the first 15 years in business, and I just changed back in 2016 to American Protection. Just a new name. I just got bored with the name Forte. Forte means strong in Italian. So I rebranded the company, did the red, white, and blue, Long Island, APB, like All Points Bulletin, but A in the alphabet is the first letter, so it's also the first letter in the phone book. So
that's smart.
I tried to, be on the top of the list, and we're licensed in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida right now.
That's great.
We have over 900 employees.
900?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not all working at the same time, but we have 900 licensed guards.
No, that's great.
Wow.
That's great.
You have to have a security license to work security in New York, and I also have a security training school.
Now, do your guards work on a 1099 type of thing?
No, we pay them directly on the books. We do direct deposit, so that way everybody gets paid every week, the same every Wednesday. It hits their bank account, and everybody's happy.
And how can someone get in touch with you?
APBguards.com is our website. And I also own a security training school called the Long Island Training Center. And that's BSI Security Training, and we're based out of Levittown over there. We have offices across from Tri-County.
Now, how long does it take you to get a security guard license?
About 4 to 6 weeks. You got to take an 8-hour pre-assignment class, then you have to get it electronically fingerprinted, then you have to send a security guard application up to Albany, the state application, and then after that, it takes anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks after you pass the background checks and all that stuff.
Wow, that's great. So, 2 totally different careers, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Which is more fulfilling for you?
Wrestling, my hands were kind of tied, how far I could go, because it wasn't, I could only do what I was asked to do in wrestling. With the security company, the sky's the limit, because, every day is a new day. People are looking for, all this active shooter stuff out there. I train the guards at MTA and stuff. I do all their training for MTA, a lot of school districts out on Long Island. We train all the security. I train all the guards at Iona College. Plus, we also do active shooter for churches, synagogues, hospitals, any business out here. We'll train them. We'll come on site. We'll train our employees. So
You know, if he protects people from themselves, boy, do I have a job for you.
It's pretty easy. I mean, we do Red Cross CPR training, EAD training, defibrillators, stuff like that. So it's been very rewarding to me to build a business from working in my basement at my house up to, buying a building to have, my own business at now. So.
Does WWE have their own security? It'd be ironic if he got the contract for Vince.
They do, and I almost got their account when they were at Times Square. They were doing WWF Cafe.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The restaurant.
Okay.
I put a bid in there, and I guess maybe a conflict of interest because I wrestled, and
Perhaps.
I guess Vince didn't want me to know, be in the know back.
You ever
then.
miss the ring?
I do. I miss the camaraderie with the boys and stuff, and when we do like these autograph signings, like I did a thing with Think Inc. back in the big event 19 and a couple of weeks ago, and then I went to Allentown with the guys, myself, Barry Horowitz, Fred Ottman, Typhoon, Big Steel Man, whatever you want to call him. And I miss a lot of the guys, Stan Hansen, a good friend of mine, Ray Lloyd Glacier, who I broke into business many years ago down in Valdosta, Georgia. He's doing a lot of stuff. He just did a movie down in Orlando that he's shooting right now. And there's a lot of guys that I miss seeing. These special events and these autograph shows actually bring the guys together again, get to hang out with them, go out to dinner, have a few drinks afterwards, share a lot of memories and stories. And, wrestling too, Johnny Walker told me once when I was working at Peach State Wrestling, he goes, you'll meet a lot of people along your journey in the wrestling business. He goes, but once you retire, if you have 5 good friends on your hand that you could count as your friend, that you keep in touch with after the business, he goes, you've had a good career. Only 5 guys, and I'm like, I could count 5 guys right now that I keep in touch with.
That's great.
So,
Do you still watch wrestling?
Not really, not too much anymore. Once in a while, my grandson will want to watch it. And I actually took him to Raw a couple of years ago when it was at Nassau Coliseum, but I got kind of disheartened a couple of times, and I'll tell you the story. In the wrestling business, we're all supposed to be like family. We respect everybody, and I always had respect. Never did anything wrong. I don't have no bad blood against anybody. So, and I don't have any enemies in the wrestling business that I know of. And I wish everybody the best. I'm one of those guys, I hope everybody does well, and I want to see them do well, and I'll help anybody. And I've done that in the past, and you could ask anybody on your show. I'm sure most of them will have good things to say about me. But I went to a show one time, and back when Steve Lombardi was a road agent, a couple other guys, went to bring my grandson in the back and say hello to the boys and everything. They kind of stopped me, I was like, I felt like an old pair of shoes, when they're done with you, you throw your shoes out and you're done. But they wouldn't even let me come in to say hello to the boys or anything like that. And that was just a slap in the face. So from then on, I never went back to any shows. And I've been away from the business for about 20 years now, only because, I was upset because of what they did to me. And I felt slighted, disrespected. And I've been to a couple of little independent shows here away from WWE, but I've never been back to a WWE show except for taking my grandson, only because I love him so much. I wanted him to go see it. I took him myself, but I didn't bring him in the back. I didn't even ask anybody to go in the back. We just went as paying customers, and I left, and took pictures, and that was it. But, it's sad because it doesn't have to be that way. We're all one family, one group of guys, and we should look out for each other instead of always trying to put a knife in somebody's back or see who could get over on somebody.
Wow, this is one, I gotta tell you, this was a great interview. I'm speechless. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Love Long Island, love your show. Thank you for having me. And
Thank you.
Guys
and who knew you were a neighbor on top of it? Nice.
I've been out in, I lived in East Northport from '94 to last year, and then I just bought a house in Northport. So, and I have my business in East Northport, right on Larkfield Road. So
Sweet.
very accessible, and
Our
I'm
old
starting to
stomping
do
ground.
more, autograph signings now, only because the fans have requested it, and some of the guys that are in the business want me to come out and and spend some time. And
so maybe we'll hook up in the future, right? Get McGuire in here, get Poffo in here.
Yeah.
Well, we got
sure.
Dark Side of the Ring coming out too. They're doing a special documentary on Herb Abrams, the UWF, that we just shot 2 weeks ago. Mick Foley's in on it. Brian Blair, my old partner Steve Ray, Herb Abrams' cousin Steve Simon. So there's a lot of people. Lenny Duke, who produced all the shows for UWF, and probably a handful of other guys, out of California.
Now, what's the story behind
About
the
Herb,
UWF?
The UWF, Herb tried to start a wrestling promotion, and I met Herb at one of John Arizzi's shows, his first Night of Champions, when he had it at the Guardia Hotel. So Herb recruited me out of there, and Bruno Sammartino put in a good word for me. A lady that used to have a wrestling newsletter called the Chatterbox, Georgianne Metropolis, and she passed away a few years back. So they all put a good word in for me, and Herb hired me to come wrestle for him, and he took good care of me. I mean, he let me work, and he pushed me a little bit. And,
television champion.
Yeah, so and then we were tag team champions, me and Steve Ray, with Wet and Wild. So, he was Herb when he was. Before he died, we were starting to book some more shows. I was working in the office in Manhattan at 7 Penn Plaza. He had his offices up there. And we were booking some shows in Germany and Austria and stuff, and he had TV already over there. They sold a lot of film and stuff over there, a lot of VHSs, and everything, was looking good. And he passed away, and everything,
just collapsed.
Yeah. I mean, if Herb had funding and he had money, he had some of the biggest names in the business. As soon as they were leaving Vince, they were coming right to Herb.
Yeah, it was straight from WWE right to UWF.
And if Herb had the funding, I think he could have made a big dent. I mean, Sports Channel America was backing them, and they were taking off, and up and down the East Coast. I think we could have really made a good run.
Could have did some damage. Yeah. Definitely could have did some damage. I know I bought the pay-per-view when it came
You
out.
loved it. I remember
I did.
that.
I loved it then.
Yeah, I do remember.
He had some great talent. I mean, Bob Backlund, Beach Brawl. He had Ivan Koloff.
Orton was on there,
Orton,
remember?
Me and
Orton
Orton and Cactus and Steve Ray. And he had the girls' championship. I mean, he had midgets. I mean, he had everything. Or little people. I don't know.
How was
in trouble.
Correct.
How was Abrams' mindset compared to a guy like Vince?
His mindset was, Herb was looking at it like a fan more than a guy like Vince, more business. But Herb was business too, though. So he was caught up between a fan and business. And
You think Heyman suffered from that too when he was running ECW, that he had some fan in him?
I don't think so. I think Paul was pretty smart, and I
Okay.
think he had a opportunity to do a lot of good things. I think Paul maybe needed a little bit more funding and maybe run some more house shows and pay some of the talent a little better, from what I heard.
Or pay the talent, maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen,
a whole different thing. I mean, Paul's a smart man, and he's very shrewd, and I hope he made a lot of money off those ECW library and stuff that he sold Vince.
Yeah.
So
what's become of the library for UWF?
There's some crazy stuff going on with that.
I think there is.
Nobody. ESPN was showing ESPN Classics, and nobody that I know of, I didn't sign anything. My rights or my name or likeness to anybody. And I think Disney owns ESPN, so there's might be some future lawsuits and litigation going on with that.
Wow.
A lot of guys aren't real happy, and supposedly some guy on the West Coast sold the tapes to them at, what's his name, Dr. Feelgood or whatever he's calling himself.
Michael PSAs?
No.
Michael P.S. Hayes.
Al Burke
is
his name. And supposedly he sold a category that he'd have no rights to ESPN, or he was selling videos and stuff. So a lot of guys that, like myself and several others that didn't have any contracts or, signed their names or likenesses away could definitely jump in on a lawsuit. But, I don't want to be like the WWF lawsuits. This is something that, we worked hard at, and I'm very proud of my work with the UWF and behind the scenes stuff and everything else, helping book and helping book matches and book some of the talent and stuff, and working in the office with Herb before he died. So I tried my best to help him, but, sometimes you got to want to help yourself, and, I can't, be the person policing somebody 24 hours a day. You got to.
Did you enjoy booking, or was it a pain in the ass?
I enjoyed some of it, but some of the guys, their personalities and their egos would get to them, and they would, price themselves out of what. I tried to put a budget together. I ran it like a business, so I would have enough money to pay everybody, whether I had 5 people in there or 5,000 people. And I always made money with my shows. I was one of the lucky guys that did it the right way. And I would, I would get sponsors. I would get people to help out. I would get people back then. We used to put up flyers and posters, and we didn't have like the internet now.
Yeah.
If we had internet now, I probably would have done a lot better. But
Imagine if you had a pharaoh.
If I had a pharaoh.
If you had a pharaoh,
If I had a pharaoh,
you would have been golden.
I think I would have.
Oh my God.
But I was by myself a
not.
lot of times, and I only had a handful of people helping out. So, but I have no regrets in the wrestling business. I did a lot of good things. I met a lot of good people.
You've done pretty well for yourself.
And
sir.
now you've been on Monty and the Pharaoh.
Look at that.
I did.
That in
A bucket
itself.
list.
I feel like a Lion King thing
That was
going
on my
on
bucket
here. You
list.
know?
That and taking a shit.
I build up, you blow down. Nice job. Hey.
What about this Dan Romano? I heard
What
we were going
the
for pizza.
frick?
I heard
Well,
we were going
all
for
right.
pizza
Okay.
afterwards.
All right.
We're taking you
I think this might be a setup.
for what the hell?
Somebody told
Well,
me
are we gonna
a
speak
nice
about-
place in Farmingdale where I
let's-
can make
Is
a
he
pizza.
coming in? Is he going to walk in the door now?
So, wow.
I
So
missed you both. I love you all.
You can go make a pizza there, from what I
I
understand.
heard Marty Jannetty made the best pizza.
Oh,
He
boy.
made a terrible pizza. What are you talking about? He was a complete mess. You're going to bring that up now? He looked terrible. It was a disaster.
I loved it.
Oh, my God. That was awful. Wow, we're not going
They
there.
got Pharaoh all
We're not
crazy.
going there, are we?
Yeah, after the show.
What? You're going there?
I thought he was a sponsor next week's show.
What the hell is going
Free
on?
pizzas?
I heard you talk to him today. Is that true?
I talked to him about 3 weeks
Who'd you get
ago.
that from?
I from you.
Well,
You forgot you told me
I said
before.
that he told
I
you.
actually do
No,
a lot
I'm
of accounts
making
in
it up as I
Farmingdale, and I actually
go.
see
What?
him a lot over there.
Do you really see him?
You
I
see
do.
him a
I
lot?
see
You
him
know
a
who he
lot.
is?
Does he say hello to you?
He's a good
He
guy.
says hello to me.
I'm so confused. Does he have your photos underneath his?
Pharaoh does a great
Does
Does he
Romano.
have signed
Pharaoh.
photos underneath of you underneath
you
his?
do a great
camera?
Romano. Give him a show.
I do not.
I do not.
What the hell are you talking about?
Wait, that sounds Jewish.
It is not Jewish. The first thing I'm going to do is post about you and all you people
This
you're
has
friends
been
with.
this has been a great interview, but now
Post.
it's going right down the toilet.
Of course it is. Well, you brought up shitting. It's your fault.
Oh boy.
Next.
I want to thank you.
Hey, my pleasure.
This was
Thank
a
you for having
fantastic
me.
interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jim, I want to thank you for hosting us
Yeah.
today. You catch Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast every Thursday from 8:05 to 9 p.m. only here at Village Connection, live out of Huntington, New York. And if you don't have enough of that, you can catch us on Tuesday on Channel 115 from 8:30 to 9. Or if you need a little more,
Oy.
you can join in on Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6:30. So that's 3 times a week on the M&P show. And you certainly will catch this Sunny Beach interview on Channel 115 in probably
Somewhere
like 2
soon.
weeks, right?
Somewhere soon
Something
down the
like
road.
that.
Yeah.
Stan Hansen would say, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monte and the Pharaoh. You should have saw the pizza gimmick he did on that. I got to show that
Yeah,
one.
he did. He did.
My stomach hurts.
He didn't eat from Dan Romano, did he?
That's exactly.
Again!
Yeah, see, we didn't have anything
This
to
is
do
a
with
setup.
Oh
What is
my God.
going on here?
Carol, what did you do?
Well, I guess
I didn't do it.
I guess if you
What
wasn't
did I
It's
do?
gluten-free pizza over there. So your stomach
I guess
might be
this
better.
wasn't the day to announce the truce. No.
What are you talking about?
It's
I said,
over.
I said, what's next? The Duty Finker special?
I don't make the news, I just report it.
Have you had the Duty Finker special? It's terrible.
I did not.
All right, I want to thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll catch you next week. Are we,
Are
on
we
next
off?
week?
It's Christmas.
Happy
no,
holidays,
yeah,
everybody.
Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Are we on? We're on? Oh, so we are here on that day. But
Right before Reach
hey,
Out.
guess what? On Christmas Eve, you get to watch M&P on Channel 115 on Christmas Eve. So instead of hanging out with your family, you can watch M&P. Jim, what do you think?
Yeah.
Is that what you'll be doing that?
Instead of marching wooden soldiers.
What?
Watch you guys.
Yeah, why not?
Hey.
All right, anyway, this has been Monty the Pharaoh. We'll catch you next week.
Later. Bye. See ya.